The entire existence of a story and its themes is defined by its characters. You may make the biggest history book about the place your characters live in, but if the characters in your story aren't affected by the world building in some way, shape, or form, then that world building becomes meaningless. We have Junji Ito's horror comics, where the unnatural events are happening to our protagonists, who are clueless to what's going on, so the reader can feel what they're feeling. Or even games like Danganronpa, where the entire world catastrophe happened because of the villain Junko Enoshima. How the viewer feels, how the viewer perceives the story and message, is all accomplished through the characters inside the story. So, I felt like right now is the best time to present to everyone in-game characters of my Yandere Simulator style game. By the way, spoilers for this story, and trigger warnings for sensitive topics ahead. Our protagonist is Fumeko Anamura, a 16-year-old girl with bluish-green hair. She's more of a funny Saturday morning cartoon villain when you first know her. She's not that threatening to us, the viewers, and her killings are almost comical at the beginning of the game. This is for several reasons. The first one is for more of an emotional-driven narrative if you chose the true ending. And the second one is because we're seeing the story through the eyes of Fumeko, a person who thinks murdering other people is thrilling. The game itself is a free-to-roam sandbox more similar to games like Stardew Valley. You will have fun killing students left and right and completing achievements. However, when you decide to go through the true ending, you will start to see the game's true colors. But most importantly, you will see our protagonist, Fumeko, change. She will start to care about who she killed. She will start to feel guilty. This makes for an interesting narrative and character development, and will also affect gameplay and even visual style. This makes Fumeko the best protagonist for the story I want to tell. Fumeko has a backstory too, however I don't think I will reveal it for now since it's a big part of the true ending. It's also worth mentioning that I will only talk about the 3 main characters in this video. There are 3 more side characters in this story, but those ones will be talked about in the future. There is a lot more to Fumeko than meets the eye, and I feel like that's something worth talking about, considering the game's narrative themes. This game, at its core, it's about appearances and redemption, personal redemption. The way other people see the protagonist and how the protagonist sees herself not only is something interesting to talk about in a narrative sense, but also gameplay-wise, because this is not just another visual novel, this is a game with mechanics that help tell a story. The game will have a bunch of different things you can do. For example, as a game mechanic, you could unlock a door through a minigame, or running into students will cause them to fall just for fun. You can do whatever you want, while Fumeko feels like an invincible serial killer who only really cares about what her crush thinks of her. Of course, she feels like she can annoy students by running up to them, or just doesn't care if a student sees her lockpicking. However, if you choose to go through the true ending, you will find yourself in a path you can no longer walk away from. A path that will make you reconsider who you killed, why did you do it, or if you ever care about that dead person's family, friends, or relevance to the people around them. You will stop seeing every life you took as just some silly little gags, and it will change the players and Fumeko's viewpoint. Thinking about everyone you ever hurted in your life the same way Fumeko is thinking about all the lives she took is a very hard thing to swallow, and that's why Fumeko is not the only character. I think it's time I finally introduce to you the love interest. This is Hisoka Luarka, the tough on the outside, cute on the inside love interest. Yeah, I don't think this is the type of guy a lot of people think of when they hear the "I can fix him" trope. You probably thought about some probably very conventionally attractive man, but nope, this is the love interest. He has a broken nose and snores at night. He very rarely showers, and he's always in a bad mood. You may be thinking, how could 2 girls fall in love with a guy like this? That's something that will be explained in the beginning of the game, as an intro cutscene, and you'd be surprised how much he's similar to both Fumeko and the rival girl, Meikawa. But let's meet our bad boy. His personality is actually kinda shy. He's an introvert who doesn't really care about other people. Or does he? In reality, he wishes he could put his trust in people, but due to events in his life, he doesn't feel comfortable opening up so easily. He has a tendency for liking people who are the complete opposite of him. Clean, cute, small, and without any type of worries besides just being happy. He isn't much of a talker, but he loves to listen, and doesn't really offer many solutions besides lending an ear. He's a secret keeper, and he also loves birds, especially this particular bird called greater yellow finch, located in Chile, around La Cordillera de los Andes. This is something I've talked about a little, but this game doesn't technically take place in Japan. Well, kinda yes, kinda no. The thing is, while making the story, I run into a big problem. I am not Japanese, I'm Chilean, I'm Hispanic. Not only that, but if you ever heard the phrase, you write what you know, then, well, you can probably guess the story I made would have had a hard time fitting any other place than Chile. For example, Fumeko chose her own shoes to bring to school, and both Hisoka and Mei also deviated from the original school uniform design. This is a problem since, in Japan, it's more common that students have a designated type of shoes. This doesn't happen in places like Chile, where despite having a uniform code, students are a lot more free to modify some parts of their uniform as long as it fits the school color scheme. Another example of this is Fumeka cutting her own school uniform in the elbows so she can have more mobility when chasing victims. Of course, this would be completely unacceptable in a Japanese school, and even in Chile this is not allowed. However, in Chile it's allowed to roll up your sleeves in crafting class, so Fumeka pretends to have a roll-up sleeve, and just in case, she wears a black, long-sleeved t-shirt with a similar color to her school uniform, so people don't suspect from afar. There is another problem too, which is the language and money system. The game is being developed in English, and despite me being Hispanic and having a very big influence on Japanese culture. Not only this, but both me and my fiancé, as well as a lot of people in Chile, use dollars as a way to count money. You probably don't know this, but Chile has a lot of commercial connections, and every Chilean must attend an English class at school. A lot of teachers even tell creative students like myself to learn English and use the dollar system, since we have a higher chance of succeeding as artists in the United States or in Europe. So, how do we solve this issue? Well, why not just make up my own country? I know, this seems like the lazy solution, but actually I think this is more fun and actually kinda smart. You see, in the narrative, having the three countries merged as one creates a lot of legal loopholes. Loopholes that could be used by Fumeko to avoid getting into jail or getting away with more criminal activities. Also creates an interesting take on what's culturally approved or not, which gives me an opportunity to explore taboo themes more freely, because we can assume the culture mix will make a lot of taboo themes make sense in this narrative. For example, and I must warn you about the sensitive topic ahead, this game will explore themes of anorexia, codependent straight and LGBT relationships, guilt, and so much more. Of course, I'm going to study every topic I described earlier, but I will say, if I put it in the story, it is because I have some previous knowledge about it, either by living it myself or having a close relationship with someone who went through what I described. The third reason is something that actually has some real-life relevance. You see, as a Chilean, I rarely see Chile represented in media. The only representation I remember having was an animated short by Disney about a little plane who wanted to cross La Cordillera de los Andes. However, this short didn't really represent anything about Chilean culture, and in fact, it felt so disrespectful that a Chilean artist decided to take it upon himself to represent the poverty of Chile back when the animated short came out, which ended in the creation of a popular Hispanic comic character called Condorito. Condorito is one of the most popular Chilean representations we have nowadays, and it even got at some point almost the same amount of popularity as 31 Minutos, the most well-known show from Chile. It's so well-known that even English people talk about it, which makes me very happy. However, besides those two examples, a lot of people in the global world simply don't know or don't care about my country. But I was given an opportunity to change that. If this game reaches a large audience, then I can make my culture be known to other people and even leave a precedent for future Chilean creators who also want to express their love for Chilean culture. But how do I show a culture so different from the United States culture? How could I expect anyone to learn about a culture so misunderstood? Oh wait, yeah, I'm making a game inspired by a culture that's not the United States. Well, that kinda came along, didn't it? But what would this place be called? And what's the story behind this place? Well, I never really liked world building, so I decided to make it short and simple. Chile, the United States, and Japan sent a crew to search for a mysterious group of islands found in the Pacific Ocean to colonize it. However, the three of them found the island on the same day. The story of what happened when the crews found each other is very vague, but it was decided that the set of island would be considered territory of the three countries. The islands were treated mostly as a trade center for the three countries, but slowly started to become its own place with its own people. Because the people from the isles came from the three countries, their government took parts from every country and became its own thing. They are still a part of the three countries, but they are also more independent and have their own social rules and law. Due to English being the most influential language across the world, they adopted dollars and language, but they also learned Spanish from Chile and Japanese from Japan, and their culture is mostly a mixture of those two. Yes, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. However, if people in this country have their own rules, what if someone took advantage of that from an early stage in the country's development? Well, that's kinda where Meikawa comes into place, or her family comes into place. Meikawa is the love rival from the game. She comes from a high-class family that, like the main theme of the game imply, are just appearances. The truth is, Mei's side of the family were cut short from the money supply due to a huge incident that happened even before Mei was born. Because of this, Mei's parents want their children to become the best at whatever seems to fit their natural talents. For example, Mei's older sister has an amazing eye-hand coordination, so she's expected to become a brain surgeon in the future, even if she really just wants to become an artist. While Mei's middle sister has a body that makes her develop muscles easily, so she's expected to become a bodyguard for someone like the president, even if she would rather be a famous female boxer than travel the world. Meikawa didn't show any signs of hyperability as a child. She wasn't artistic or strong or particularly well organized, or anything that would make her future seem clear to her parents. The only thing her parents saw in her is how beautiful she was. Her parents decided to push her as an actress and prepare her to show her best face at all times, which made Mei feel like she was just her appearance. No brain, no specialty, just a pretty face. However, if you compare child Mei to current Mei, you will see two different characters. Why? Well, it's for the same reason Mei is the only character I talk about that has a somewhat clear backstory. Its appearances. The game's theme is in every character, and every character explores a different type of appearance. And their interactions and even destinies or hopes for the future are all up to you. After all, this is a game, an interactive experience meant to make you part of its world and narrative and themes. And hey, if you like the story of the game, I suppose you will also be interested in the game's development itself, so remember to follow. We also have a coffee if you want to support me and my fiancé so we can become full-time developers. And thank you so much for watching until the end. See ya!